We are reloading for this Remington 700, 1965 model, early stainless steel. We are using this powder, these powders, Alliant 4000 Magnum rifle, reloader 22, Hodgdon 414, Hodgdon 4831 shortcut, and Hodgdon 4895. 4895 is used for reduced loads. So if you want to reduce the load in any rifle, you stay within 60% of max. So let's say your max on a given, we'll keep it simple, on a given cartridge was 100 grains. So you could go all the way down to 60. Okay, you're staying within 60. So you can go all the way from 60 to 100. So if you wanted to duplicate some 30-30, 308, 30-06, and a 300, this is the powder that you would use. And so we did some of that for this gun. 4831, a great powder. I mean, really, honestly, you're not really getting quite the velocity, but 4831 IMR 4831 with 180 grain Sierra boat tails is what Dad reloaded when I was a kid. Hodgdon 414 is the same thing as Winchester 760. Very versatile, very fine powder, easy to meter. It shoots in just about anything. Low pressures, but you don't get the velocity in 300 that you probably would like. But you don't have highest pressures either. Reloader 21 worked really, really well in the 7 mag, and it works. It says on the bottle 300 Win Mag, if you can see it right there. And then this is a new powder, 4000 Magnum rifle. The only powder I did not have that I wanted to try, well, two powders, Reloader 26 and Hodgdon 1000. I went everywhere. Sprague's, I went to Sportsman's Warehouse, I went to Cal Ranch, Cabela's, and the Bass Pro Shop. Nobody had it, and I didn't want to pay the hazmat fee, and so I didn't buy any in this test. So some of the bullets we're using 180 grain Nosler partitions. That's the bullet judge. Every other bullet is judged by. So we're using, next to that, we have some 165 grain SST by Hornadays. We're using, in the Burger bullets, we're using both 175 grain and 168 grain. And then the ELDs, we're using 178 grain ELD X's, which is not a solid. It's not a solid copper. It has a lead core in it, and we're using two Sierras. We're using both 180 grain. Both of them are 180 grains. One's a flat base and one's a boat tail. And so we have a lot reloaded already. We're just about ready to go out. Here's what a 300 Win Mag looks like. It's a big boy. We're using the scope that's on it as a Miopta 6.5 by 20. It's we also have the smaller one right there that goes on it. It's a Bass Pro Shop model. It's like a 4:12, which is super clear. Anyway, when you're reloading, you want to have some books. You don't necessarily have to have them now with smartphones. That's where you get your reloading data. So you have this little manual, which is just for the 300. Then you have your regular books, and then there's a pet loads book as well. And I've got all of the test rounds ready. That's those. There's like a box, almost 2 boxes loaded up. Some of the things that you need, this is not a how-to on reloading, but you got to have your presses, at least one. 2 is a little bit better to switch back and forth from. You want your brass polishing media. I used a corn cob with some of that case polish right there, and you use it in a case vibrator, in this case, not a tumbler. And then some of the things setting up for long range, of course, is we have we just bought a new one. We have 2 range finders. We have the older Leopold. That was $300. It goes to about 700 yards. And then we have the new Kilo 2000. It was on sale for $229. I thought about getting the Leopold one. It goes out to 16 and probably does as good a job, but I ended up getting this one. My son has that one too. It works well. You have all your cleaning stuff. You know, I mean, you accumulate all this. This is all backup stuff. I have a whole reloading system set up a couple times over at my son's house, and so anyway, we're going to go out. We're going to test these rounds. One thing that you want to get is you want to have a book with your data in it. Each gun that you have should have its own logbook, and in this logbook, it'll have all your information. This is the gun that it is. This is when I got it, the serial number, what I've done to it, how good the trigger is, how much it cost, what scopes I'm using. The first outing with the Remington core locks talks about the groups that we got with this: 1 3/16, 1 3/4, a little over 1. That was our starting point. And then what we did is we tested the overall length, and you use a gauge, and we'll show you how to do that too a little bit later. But you use a bullet gauge. Let me show you. And pretty much what you do is you take a bullet and you stick it in here, and you stick it down the bolt, and you push it out until it hits the lands. Then you measure what the overall length was when it hit the lands, and you come back 30 thousandths, 20 thousandths, 10 thousandths, whatever that you want. And so this is what this page is. This is each bullet, what the averages were, then what we wanted to come back 30 thousandths is what we did for this testing. Tracy, you're getting into stuff there. Anyway, so then the powders, what we did is I went through all the books, went through the internet, and I seen what people were using for maxes, and then I reduced it from there. And this was the ballistic coefficient on each of the bullets that we're using. So the Burger bullets, 518 and 473, the Hornadays 552 and 447, the Sierra's 407, 501, and then the Partitions 474, and the Sierra Bowtails, Sierra up here I already said what they were, 501, 407, and then what I did was I set the chart for the bullets. So when I'm out there, I can see what the drop should be. Like this Burger VLD 180 at 100 yards. I sighted in at 200 yards, so it's 1.5 inches high at 100. It's 6.5 inches low at 300, 12 inches low at 350. And then this is the powder. So each bullet that's reloaded for testing is on here. It's already done ahead of time, so when I get out there I can make notes on the group size, how it shot, what I thought about it, and then I just have a bunch of notes on paper all scattered around that I have to reorganize later. It's already done on each powder that we used while we reloaded it in. So and the overall length. So in this case, on the Alliant 4000, on the Nosslers, we use 73.1 grains, and I use an overall length of 3.578, which is 30 thousandths or so off the lands. And anyway, for whatever other notes, but these are good to have. You need some calipers, of course. We have inside well, you want a box like this box here. This is a range box. So in the range box is staples, ear plones, all the rods, the cleaning rods, the has the range finder, not the range finder, but the chronograph. So in this one is the chronograph, the bore sighter, the ear muffs, staple gun, and then all your tools like this tool, your screwdrivers, your cleaning jags, a toothbrush, I mean just your Loctite, everything that you think will come in handy. These two are for cleaning. We can go into that later. Have plenty of patches. This is your range box. Also, each rifle should have its own case, like this one, and it should be. This is where you could keep all of your, your bullets. That way, when you go to pick it up, everything's in one area. So anyway, we're going to go out and see how this bad boy shoots right here. Hopefully, it'll shoot good, and then we'll be able to get one of those bad boys, because that's what it's all about. Well, let's talk about some of these groups that we got. This is with early model 1965 Remington 700 and stainless steel barrel. All the early Magnums had stainless steel barrels. So this is our best group. This is almost one hole, 3 shots, .139. So what's that? About 1/8 of an inch. This is with Berger VLD Hunting, the 178. This is 66.5 grains of Hodgson 414, which I believe is the same as the Winchester 460. So we got 3 velocities. We got 2800, 2089, and 2759. So this was our best group. And we shot about 4 boxes of shells, so let's look at the rest of the groups. This is our next best group. This is about 1/4 of an inch group. 3 shots, 100 yards. All of these are at 100 yards. This is 74 grains of Hodgson 4831. Now we're using the Sierra flat base, not the bowtail, their Spitzer. I don't have the velocity on these. Probably, I don't know why I don't have it. Chronograph might not have been hooked up when I shot these. Should be about the same as the last ones, about 2,800 feet per second. Not the velocity that we really want, but really nice tight group. Now this is all of these are 30 to 40 thousandths off the lands. So this is some more 178 Berger ELDXs. I guess that's their 101. We shot a lot of groups right around an inch. So this is 1.101 inch. And this interesting thing about this group is look at the velocities. This is reloader 22. This is a couple of grains lower than a lot of people are shooting. The 75 is still a little bit more than some people probably are using, but the velocities are 32.16, 31.97, and 32.37. So we're definitely getting some magnum velocities out of this. If we could get this group going good, this would be probably a nice long range 1,000 yard group, and the velocities go along with it. So we should have that velocities, the accuracy to make those long shots. So it's definitely going to be one of the Reloader 22 at this velocity is going to be something we're going to be looking a little closer at. So here's some more Reloader 22. 77.5 grains with 168. This is the VLD very low drag target burgers. A little under an inch group. Velocities 32.52, 32.40, 32.15. So we got them moving out here a little bit. All right, here we have another group just a hair over 1 inch. 100 yards. All these were shot at 100 yards. 75.5 grains of Reloader 22. This time we're using 180 grain Sierra. I call them flat base. They don't say flat base, but they're not a boat tail. They have the flat base, and that's their Spitzer model. This is their target model. This isn't their Game King. This is their Match King. 3290, almost 3,300 feet per second. That's pretty fast. This time we have the Sierra boat tail, the Game Kings, the one designed more for hunting. We're using again a Reloader 22 Alliant powder, and the group is about 1 and 0.39 inch, so you can see that. And velocities, even if you use 75.5 grains, the velocities are exactly what we used before to get 3,200 feet per second. With the bow tails, we're getting just over 3,000, 3,073, 3,061, 3,046. So the Reloader 22 is producing a decent accuracy, but really good velocity as well. And these are all set between 30 and 40 off the lands for the most part. Here we have a pretty good group between 3/4 and 1 inch. 0.850. We're using Hodgson 414, which I really like this powder. Using 178 grain Burger VLD hunting. We're using 65 grains, which is giving us a velocity of I don't know. I don't have it on there. I'm guessing it's probably around 29. I'm not sure on these early ones if I had the chronograph. Must not have been set up. But one reason that a lot of people don't use the 414, it does give good accuracies, but it just doesn't give the velocity in the magnums that people are looking for. So a lot of times it's overlooked. And we tested a lot of loads. We probably shot 4 boxes, 3-shot groups using a Sierra Boattail, the Sierra Flat Base, the Hornady ELDX, the Hornady's 165 SSTs, 2 of the Burger bullets, a 178 and a 168, and plus 180 grain Nosler partitions. Here you can see the velocities on this load at 2966, 2914, 3167. So with the 300, 3,000, at least 3,000 is what we're looking for. So this is the same load as before, that we didn't have the velocities on, but we have them on this one. So we could expect something close to the same thing. This group's just a hair under 1 inch, 0.912, and 66 grains of Hodgson 414, and we're using 168 grain Burger VLDTs, which are the targets. So, well, this is the The 168 you would expect to go a little faster. So the 178 grains or 180 grains with the same powder, probably, like I said, is going to be producing about 29. We'll be lucky to get 3,000. We'll probably see some here in a minute. So here we find the Sierras shooting a pretty good group. The Sierra, they're the match king targets with a flat base, so you would expect them to be accurate. But look at the velocities are good. 31, 27, 31, 31, 31, 14. And we're using that Magnum powder, that 4000 MR, which is also an Alliant powder. We're using 73.1 grains, and some of these we're getting around 22, almost 2300 feet per second for the same load. So this is a little bit more reasonable load. Anyway, this will be something that we can play around with and have fun with, and see how far we can shoot out. But it probably wouldn't be my first choice on a hunting bullet. Anything over probably a couple hundred yards anyway. Now this is another target load, another target bullet. This is the 168 grain Burger VLD-T, which is the target, and I think that's the one that some of them people have been using for long range hunting. Look at that, I missed the third, didn't have a third reading on the chronograph, but we have 30, 58, and almost right at 3,000, and we're shooting again 0.844 between like a 1/4 inch and an inch group. So it's doing really good. We can have fun with this load. What else I would use it for besides target shooting, I have no idea. This is more of what I expected the velocity to be out of this powder. This is the Alliant 4000 MR for Magnum rifle. These are the 175, sometimes I think I called it 178, but I think it's 175 grain Burger VLD H for hunting. It's the velocities are 30-70, as you can see on the screen. 30-70, 31, 34, and 30-54. These are 3-shot groups, and the barrel gets a little hot even after just 3 shots. And we do 3 shots instead of 5 shots. That's what I've done since I was a kid. It's what Dad did, and for a hunting bullet, it makes a lot of sense to me. So anyway, we got a good group. This is 100 yards, and we got the velocities that are good, and the powder is performing well. Whether I would use this versus Reloader 22, I don't know. The 2 powders I didn't have, I couldn't get, and I went and checked everywhere besides ordering online, was Hodgdon H1000 I would have liked to have had, and Reloader 26, which I also would have liked to have, but I don't. Now remember, this is pretty much out of a stock 1965 Remington 700 and 300 Win Mag. They did a trigger job, it feels like. It could have came out of the factory that good. So it's got a nice trigger, and they bedded the action, and I free floated the barrel and sealed the wood stock. The early models, and this is about a 1965, come with stainless steel barrels. That's why I have it. I have a couple of others with a stainless steel barrel, 338 and a 7 mag that also shoot great. And I just wanted to show what you could get with the early production gun and a little bit of careful hand loading. All of these are about 30 to 40 thousandths off the lands. We could, move them a little closer and start working with that and probably improve the accuracy. But as you can see, most of the groups with like 4 different powders and 4 or 5 or 6 different bullets were around a 1-inch group. Here we moved it out to about 1.5 inches. And we definitely got it right around dead center. This is H4831 shortcut. I like this powder. The velocities is pretty good. This is 175 grains. This is right at 3,000 feet per second. 3017, 2963, and 2977. So, this is definitely acceptable. We have around a 3,000 feet per second mark, and we have a decent group. Most everything shot pretty close to center. We could interchange most of these bullets and not even have to change the sights unless we're shooting way out. Well, here we can see what the 4831 can do. A lot of people don't use it because it doesn't produce the velocities that they're looking for. But here we're shooting for an average around 3,000 feet per second or a little more, maybe even a little less if accuracy is good. That's the goal, something that continues to shoot towards center. This group is about a 1-inch group, just a hair over. You can see how many groups we've actually had. 1.1. So here's another one. This is 180 grain Nosler partitions, and to tell you the truth, I did not get the Nosler partitions to group real tight, so we still need some more work on that. Remember that this was probably set 30 thousandths off the land. We can move it a little bit closer. So we're showing 74 grains of Hodgdon 4831 shortcut, 180 grain Nosler partitions at right around 3,000 feet per second. Well, actually about 2,900 feet per second probably would be a better average. All right, one goal that we were looking for, and we did with the 338, we didn't get real extensive here like we did with the 338. We got duplication loads from 3030, 308, 30-06, 300, all the way up to basically almost 300, 338 Ultra Mag, 3,300 feet per second with 185 grain coated barns. Here we're shooting a 300 Win Mag, and we're using Hodgdon 4895, and you stay within 60% of max, you can reduce any load you want. So here we're shooting for reduced loads, with a decent group. So we're using 47 grains of 4895, and we produce this group. So this is 1 3/4 inches, still really close without changing the sight. So we drop down a little bit, but it's not off that much. So you could actually carry these reduced loads, which is 2582, 26, 2567. So right about 20, little under average of 2,600 feet per second. So in the 308 area, I would think. So we're using 165 grain Hornady SSTs to get this group, to get this reduced load using this powder, which makes our 300 much more versatile. Here we have another reduced load. This is again using Hodgdon 4895. Remember, if you stay within 60% of max, you can reduce any load. So here we're using 168 grain Berger VLDT targets, and we're getting 2492, well, right around 2,500 feet per second, probably be the average. 2515, 2509, and 2492. And we got a 1-inch 0.4, so we got almost a 1.5 inch group, still shooting very close to center. And some of them, depending on which round, some of the ones we're shooting to the left as well. So if you match those two together, then moved crosshairs over on center, you could probably get, shooting almost exactly on target and your aim point at 100 yards. So makes the 300 a lot more versatile. This is 3030 has some 172 Spitzer type bullets that are probably around 23 or so, maybe even 24. So this is probably between a 3030 and maybe a 308 for and shooting it out of a 300, which is pretty versatile. We just thought we'd see what we could come up with, and this is one of them. Here we have just under 2-inch group, 3-shot 2-inch group, using the Hodgdon 414 powder that I like, the Sierra. These are the Sierra boat tails. Remember, the accuracy out of the Sierra flat base target was a little better, about 1 inch, I believe. We're using 65.1 grains of H414, and the velocities we're getting are, well, it's 4. So what's the 4 shot at here? 1, 2, 3. I got 4 velocities down, so I must have shot someplace. Oh, there it is. I couldn't even see. It's in the black. 2 together, right? The one shot you can see in the middle. There's 1 right next to it. So there's 2 shots. So that would have been about a little under 1 inch group without that flyer going up toward the red. We're getting 2849, 2850, 2758, 2712 using the Hodgson powder, 414 powder. Okay, here's another example of the Nosler partitions really not grouping it as well as we would have liked. I mean, in the 7 mag and the 375 H&H, these grouped very, very well. I mean, the 375 H&H shot 1 inch groups with these all day. So we're talking here, where do I mark down what group it is? 2.38. So 2 1/3 inch is the best we could get, and this is using 414 powder again. The Hodgson 414, Winchester 760 are the same powders, I believe, and I'm using 65.5 grains to produce this group, which a 100-yard hunting bullet would be maybe I would use, but we got so many accurate loads. This would not what I would pick. I'd probably pick, as of right now, the 4831 shortcut. I have to take a double look at either the 4000 or 22 and see how it does. Probably keep working with this, maybe try some 26 or some Hodgson 1000, which I wish we would have, but we don't. Here we're looking at another reduced load. We're using 49.6 grains of Hodgson 4895, the recommended powder for reduced loads, staying within 60% of max. And we have a 3-shot group within about 1.5 inches. Then we have 1 flyer over to the left, which moves that group out to 2.36 inches. And our velocities are, I guess, 308, 2617, 2609, 2590, and 2580. So we're talking about 2600 feet per second average. All right, here we're using 165 grain SSTs, and for the most part I just did not get the Hornady stuff, just wasn't grouping well. The 178 ELDXs, I really couldn't get them to group as well as I wanted either. So this is we're using the Hodgson 414 powder again, 66 grains. Velocities are not too bad. I mean, around 3,000 feet per second. 2966, 2914, 3167. But this is a 2.5 inch group. We should be able to do a lot better. I mean, these should be grouping within, 3/4 inch group all day long. Here's another example of the ELDX is just not grouping with what we were doing, 30 thousandths off the land or so. We should have been doing better than this. I'm not sure what it is about this particular bullet and the way that we developed it in the powder that we've been using, but it hasn't been working well for us. This is a 2-inch group. Well, we're not even up to, one's 2966. One's 2825 and the other's 2849. So we really don't have the velocities that we want, and we definitely don't have the group that we want. We're using 65 grains to Hodgson 414. Another example, another 2-inch group or so of 178 Hornady ELDXs. Just not grouping well for us. I mean, I guess a lot of people would be happy to shoot a 2-inch group, but we've had so many 1-inch groups down to even a 1/4 inch group and even 1/8 inch group. So we know the gun is capable of it. It's just this combination of whatever is not working well for us. I don't know what it is. Here we're using 4831 shortcut Hodgdon, and we're using 74 grains, and we're using Remington cases with CCI 250 primers. The velocities are just a hair under 3,000, which, you know, I mean, we can live with that. We're, you know, when you think of basically a 180 grain bullet out of a 300, you're thinking of 3,000 feet per second. 3,100 would be great. 3,200 would be fantastic. The good thing is that we've got some groups around an inch at 32 or even a little bit more than that. So this one here, but not with the ELDs. This one here is really not working for us. Almost all the bullets and all the powder combinations gave us, you know, pretty close to center 100 at 100 yards. But here we see one more time where the 180 grain nozzle partition just really isn't working well. We've got two close up there together, then one down, and that's just the way it seems to be going. We've got another, what is that, a 2-inch group or so, and it's just unacceptable. The velocities are okay. I mean, I don't mind that. We're talking, you know, 3,086, 3,153, and 3,150, and you can see the two higher velocities shot a little higher, which I think would shoot a little lower. Anyway, we're using 75.5 grains of Reloader 22, and we've got some fantastic groups with the 22. The nozzle partition isn't one of them. One of the casings were bad, so I only fired 2. That's 2 is all I needed out of this. This is the Alliant 4000 Magnum rifle powder again. This is using 178 grain ELDXs, and just one more example of the ELDXs just not shooting. No matter what powder I used, no matter what I tried, I just couldn't get them to work. 3034 and 3111, and we're used 73.1 grains of that powder. That didn't work either. I started with the best group, which is almost 1 hole, but I'm ending here with the worst group. This is like 5 inches, 5.1 inch group, 3,000 feet per second we got out of it. Once again, I could not get the nozzle partitions to group. I think we had one using the 4895 that was in 1 inch. So I do not have, I'm hoping maybe the H1000 can do something, or we can move these a little closer to the lands and maybe improve these groups. But so far, these aren't grouping well for us. This is the 4000 Magnum rifle, the Alliant stuff, this 73.1 grains, and you can see not a very good group. So the nozzles didn't really perform well for us, and the Hornady bullets really didn't perform well for us either. The Sierras, both the Game King and the Match King shot well, and both the Burger in 175 and 168. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't. These are the first Burgers I've ever shot, and I can't decide if I'm a fan of them at all. I mean, we're taking a target round and we're making it into a hunting round, and you think that wouldn't work, but a lot of people are swearing by it and saying that it does, and some people are not big fans of it and saying it doesn't. But you know, our goal here isn't to shoot, you know, an animal at 1,000 yards with these Burger bullets. I mean, I like to shoot 1,000 yards, just to shoot at 1,000 yards to see if this basic 300 Win Mag 1965 model will do it, as this is the 7 mag did. Pulled the 7 mag off the shelf and loaded up some bullets, and it shot out to 1,000 yards with no problem at all. Extremely accurate. So here you go. That's all of our targets for the most part. We have some refining to do, but you've seen it. Well, this is the end of part 2. Remember, in part 1 we showed where we got this gun, this Remington 700 and 300 Win Mag, early serial number 153902. Figured it was about a 1965 model, the stainless steel barrel. And it came to us in pretty good shape. It was already bedded with a good trigger. I free-floated the barrel a little bit and sealed off the wood barrel channel. And then we got these 2 scopes for it. This is a quick release system. I have on 338 and a 7 mag, so all those scopes are interchangeable. This is a Miopta 6.5 by 20, and we also have the Instinct brand 4 to 12, which is the Bass Pro Shop brand. So anyway, we got the gun. We paid $425 for it, $40 shipping, $30 FFL, and we bought some rings, and we bought the scope and the bases, and then I went ahead and I got some of the powder and stuff we already had, and I bought some. So we have the $48.95 for reduced loads. Remember that $48.95 can be reduced 50%. I'm 60%. Keep within 60% of max of the max load. So you could get duplication loads from 300, really duplicating a 30-06, 308, or 3030 if you want. And then we had some Hodgdon 4831 shortcut, and then we have the Hodgdon 414. Remember, the 414 and the 760 are basically the same powder. We didn't load up any of that out of that 760. Did I say 716? I meant 760 Winchester. And then I got some of this Alliant 4000 Magnum rifle powder, and I got some Alliant Reloader 22. The Reloader 22 was really good in the 7 mag. And then the bullets are Sierra 180 grain bowtail, which is a Game King, and we got 180 grain flat base Spitzer, which is a Match King. We got some 178 grain ELDXs from Hornady. We got 2 Burger bullets. We have the 175 grain, the ELD hunting bullet, and then we have the 168 grain Burger target bullet, and then we have a box of SSTs 165s, and we have 180 grain partitions by Nosler. Those are the ones we worked with in this part 2. In part 1, we used the factory rounds. We used those Remington core locks right there. And what we did with the Remington core locks, we went out and we seen what kind of groups we could get to kind of give us a starting point. And we got a little over 1 inch, basically. At 50 yards, we got a 3/8 inch group. We got just 2 shots, really good. And we wanted to make sure it was on at 100 yards, so we shot 2 shots. Our best group we could get at 100 yards was 1 inch and 3/16. And then at 200 yards, we did get a 2-minute of angle group. We got a 3-shot group. No, just a 2-shot. I only had a box of shells I wanted to shoot all the way out, get it sighted in, shoot it 100, 200, 300, and 400. So I didn't have a lot of shells to work with. I think I only had 2 shells left over, so I wasn't able to shoot 3-shot groups. But I wanted to kind of get an idea what the gun was capable of with factory ammunition. So we were using 180 grain core locks with a ballistic coefficient of 3 83. Muzzle velocity advertised at 2960. Cost us $20 at the gun show. So 50 yards, we got a 2-shot group of 3/8 inch. 100 yards, we got a 2-shot group of 1 3/16. At 200 yards, we got 1 3/4 inch. At 300 yards, we got 3 5/8. And at 400 yards, we got the bullets were 8 inches apart. So in ending round 2, we were able to take our loads. What we did was first we took that little tool right there, and then that showed us where our lands were, and then we were able to take each bullet, take notes on each bullet, where the measurement was when it was touching the lands, and I was able to come off 30 thousandths. So each of our test loads were basically 30 thousandths or so off the lands. And we ended up with some really, really good groups. We did not get to test Hodgson 1000, which we wanted to, or Alliant Reloader 26. I could not find them anywhere that we went. But we got some, we got some decent groups. So we got some really fantastic groups. We got one 3-shot group of basically 1/8 inch, 1.39 inches, another at a quarter group. So we got some really good groups. We got a whole bunch of groups. We shot 4.5 boxes, 3-shot groups, using those powders, even some reduced loads, and we got a lot of groups right around a 1 inch. Using the Burger bullets with the different powders, we got every group except one was under 1 inch. No, every group was under 1 inch. 0.39 was with the Brugers, 0.850, and 0.840 with the Sierra Bowtail, the flat base, 1 inch group, below a 1 inch group, a 1/4 inch group. With the Sierra Bowtails, we got a really good group with the M4000 and the M22, good R22, Reloader 22. We got good groups. We got great velocities. The 168 shot good. The only thing I could not get to shoot good, the ELD really didn't shoot that fantastic. Our best group, we did get a 1 inch group. The other groups were 2 inches or so, and we got one group, about a 1 inch group, with the 4831 shortcut 2900 feet per second with an oscillator partition. Another one was 1 3/4, and then we got a group of 2 inches and a group of 3 inches. And the reduced loads shot well within 1.5 inches. The targets you guys have seen or will see, depending on which order I put them in. And so segment 3 will be when we take these good loads and bullets and we get them all loaded up and we take them out and see how they do it. We'll see how far we can go out with this scope. We may run out of adjustment on it, but it has a ballistic plex system in it, so we should be able to get out at least 800 yards. So that's going to be our next one. We're going to use these bullets. Later on we could try some H1000 and some 22, but we got some really good groups and some really good velocities with that. So that's the end of segment 2, and we're going to be moving on to segment 3, long range.